From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
It's a Monday night here on OpenLine on News Channel 5 Plus. Hi, everybody. Rhori Johnston sitting in for Carrie tonight. Hope you're doing well. Start of the work week. And we're going to get right into an important topic that we've talked quite a bit about on News Channel 5, actually in recent weeks. And News Channel 5 Investigates has done an outstanding job on an issue going on within the Department of Services here in Tennessee, specifically with our foster parents, that there is a crisis, according to some foster parents, and we've known for years that DCS has struggled with budget issues, now with staffing issues, and then that goes right down to the line, impacts caseloads, caseworkers, and the families themselves. So resources for struggling foster families. These are amazing people throughout the state who have made a decision to open their hearts and homes to kids who really have nowhere else to go. Our guest tonight, we want to welcome in Amanda Arthur. She is the executive director of the nonprofit called Nashville Angels. Amanda, welcome. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so easy. Right away, introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us about your background, and then obviously tell us about Nashville Angels, what this group does.
Yeah, so funny story. I actually am a social worker by trade. I have my bachelor's and master's in social work, and I have worked with kids in trauma, children's and mental health, and then as well as foster care as well before opening in Nashville Angels and even moving here. I worked in a group home in West Virginia, so all of my kids were in foster care. So I had 15 kids at any given time of age range 10 to 18, all in foster care. And through that, I got to see very much how broken the system was, not just in West Virginia, but across the country. And then when I moved to Nashville, I heard about the National Angels organization, which is our parent organization, and heard they wanted to open chapters across the country, and Nashville didn't have one yet. And so I thought, what a better opportunity than to bring a support building bridge for a gap that is so big in foster care right here to Nashville.
And I read, what I love about this story is you were in North Carolina's home for you. You were there.
Correct.
You felt kind of called to come to Nashville. You know, you knew what you wanted to do, but you weren't sure how you were going to do it, and just kind of randomly heard about a podcast, and that specific episode, you know, they mentioned this program and the stars aligned.
Absolutely. It was very, very odd. I didn't see it coming, but it has been a huge blessing. It's been difficult at times, but we have seen major impact here, as well as other chapters across the country that our programs do work. So
I can't wait to delve in and get into the mission statement and all of that, but something I don't think people realize, how hard is it, even if you have support of the national organization, you're on the ground here in Nashville, how hard is it to start a chapter, you know, from the ground up?
Yeah, it is. It's interesting and challenging, especially for someone who was already new to the city. I had been here for less than a year when I decided to take this on. And so you have to find the right people who are already passionate about what you're going to be doing. Then you have to expand your network to find donors and to find volunteers, because without the funds and without the volunteers, we can't serve the families and the kids.
Sure. And let's talk about people who make the decision to be foster families. I used to live in a neighborhood years ago, and one of the families down the street was a foster family, and always had babies and little kids, and it was kind of a village. You know, they would bring the kids. We had a cul-de-sac where all the parents would, you know, and we would all help out. And it was, I felt like, how do you give these children up after weeks or months of caring for them when, you know, finally they find a loving home? A permanent home is what we hope. But these families are extraordinary, what they're doing.
Absolutely. I think it takes a very special person to be willing to risk that. If they are going to come into your home and you are going to become attached, but when you shift your perspective just a little bit to the impact you're having on their lives and not just the impact they're going to have on you, it's worth that risk and worth that attachment and worth that little bit of heartbreak every time they have to leave to go to a permanent home or a different situation.
So we know, and we'll get into this a little later, about the issues that Tennessee's Department of Children's Services has faced. We'll get into all of that. And, we always need more foster parents because there's just a lot of kids out there. But that's where a group like Nashville Angels comes in. You try to bridge the gap. Tell us how you recruit volunteers, and then what would you like them to do to help support these foster families?
Yeah, so for our family-based volunteer groups, we have Love Box and Dare to Dream. So our Love Box is what helps support the foster family unit as a whole. And so we will reach out to businesses, churches, social media, networking friends. Every group is different, and every group gets to tailor themselves to the family they're serving. And so that matching process is very specific on what that family needs. We want to match them with the group that can help meet those needs efficiently. Right. And so the Love Boxes, they take a physical box to these families' homes full of practical things they might need, such as paper goods and laundry detergent and snacks and school supplies, things that add up over time when you have children in your home, especially when you're adding more and more children. But more importantly, when they're taking that box into the home, they're getting to build a village, like you said, just like the same thing, a village of emotional and physical support around these families. And they're pouring into the parents, the foster placements, any biological children, adoptive children. Every single person in that home is getting support from that group and our team.
Yeah, and it must be amazing because, these families, they don't give up their careers and jobs to do this. They're still working hard, trying to put food on the table for just their regular family. They're adding to their family, and I know that DCS helps out with these foster families, but it's a huge emotional burden and it's a financial cost. So to have these volunteers come in, like you said, you get to know these families and they get to know you, and these foster kids get to see that kind of love and support that's coming in from the outside.
Absolutely.
Right? So tell me about the boxes. I mean, if you get a volunteer, someone who calls says, hey, I'd like to help, what generally would you tell them? What is the commitment?
Yeah, so it's at least a 1-year commitment. We want you to commit at least 1 year to this family because these kids are already being displaced and having so many adults come and go from their lives. We like to give them something stable to hold on to.
Sure.
So if someone calls or emails and says, hey, I want to be a Love Box leader, we'll call them, kind of talk to them some more, kind of see what their expectations are, what they're looking for. And then we ask them, go seek out 5 to 8 people to do this with you, because this is going to be more than just one person can do on their own.
Okay.
And so some of those volunteers may just contribute financially to that Love Box group and say, hey, I don't have the time to give, but here's $20 or $30 a month to help you buy the things to put in that box. And then you take 2 or 3 of them, we background check them, we train them on trauma, we train them on our program, and then we help facilitate that match. And then they get to kind of build their relationship and build their monthly giving based on what that family needs. For ours, it was not just physical things, it was babysitting for them to have a date night, or babysitting to work so that they can take the other child to the doctor and someone stays at home with the kids, and helping give summer activities, and here's tickets to the movies, or here's some things for mom and dad to kind of have some time together, or we'll take care of the foster placement for the day so they can go bond with their biological children some and time too. So every group gets to tailor it specifically to what that family needs most.
Right. I mean, little things that I may not have even thought of that means so much. So once you get to assigned a family or families, who facilitates kind of how things do? Does Nashville Angels still kind of monitor and get in, or once you build a relationship with the families, maybe they can just text you directly and say, if you say, what do you need next month? What would you like in the box? Things like that. Or is it both?
It's a little bit of both. Yeah. So the hope is that they will end up trusting and bonding and building that rapport so well with their Love Box group, they feel comfortable to say, hey, we've loved all the toilet paper and laundry detergent, but we haven't really used it. Can we shift it and focus more on snacks? The kids are eating done and we need snacks, or they're going to be home for spring break, or they're going to be home more often. But we do all the admin work behind that. So we're following up with our foster parents, our Love Box leaders and groups to make sure that what's being given and said is matching on both ends, to make sure no one's falling through the cracks, and making sure that everyone's commitment is lining up, and making sure that the matches are effective and that they're working, because sometimes they just don't click, and that's also okay. But that way, if love box groups hit a snag and go, I'm just not bonding with one of the kids. Like, I'm having a really hard time. She's a teenager. He's a teenager. They don't really want anything to do with us when we're there. We can give ideas to help break that ice, or kind of give them things to do and say, hey, why don't you take them off separately? And maybe here's some money. Go take them to get their nails done. Or why don't you two just go get pizza for the evening, kind of spend some time with them one-on-one. So because that way they'll open up and trust you as well.
Real quick, we're going to take our first break in just a second, but I also want to ask you about mentorship. Again, what kind of a role could that play? Not just with the example you're setting, but maybe some direct mentorship. How does that work?
Yeah, so we have our Dare to Dream program, which is a one-on-one curriculum-based mentorship. So we are not only spending that one-on-one time and connecting them with people, we're also teaching them basic life skills to help give them a leg to stand on after graduation or as they're moving into transitional living as well, or college.
Okay. Wow, a lot more to dive into with our guest, Amanda Arthur, and we're going to learn more about Nashville Angels, how you can help out, and then get into some of the real issues that our State Department of Children's Services faces, talk to you about our News Channel 5 investigation, and we want to hear from you. 737+. Give us a call. We'll be right back.